City's Quorum as they celebrate their 31st annual National Coming Out Day Luncheon. This inspirational, transformational event gives voice to the power of living openly, honestly, and with authenticity at work, in our families, in our faith communities, and across our lives. The National Coming Out Day Luncheon serves as a celebration of who we are individually and together. Join us as our community celebrates the strength, courage, and wisdom of LGBTQ+ and allied people who have braved their own unique journeys to now live openly, authentically, and with pride. Reserve your tickets today for Friday, October 11th. This year's National Coming Out Day Luncheon will be at the Minneapolis Convention Center. The Marketplace Expo opens at 10 a.m. and the luncheon begins at 11:45 a.m. Tickets are available to members for $70 or non-members for $90. Learn more and purchase your tickets in the events section at TwinCitiesQuorum.com. That's TwinCitiesQuorum.com.
It's an absolute must for any true foodie. Vinaigrette at 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis offers premium oils and vinegars for the most discriminating of tastes. This is Sarah Piepenberg, owner of Vinaigrette. We bottle on-site, there's no guesswork, and you get to taste test each and every oil and vinegar we offer. Our direct relationship with the growers ensures an uncompromised level of satisfaction. When you need to know you're cooking with the finest ingredients, first contact the independently owned Vinaigrette, 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis. Online at vinaigrettemn.com.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Clear tonight and breezy with a low of 56, then Tuesday sunshine with a high of 66. Join us tomorrow night for our AM 950 debate watch party at the Park Tavern in St. Louis Park as Governor Tim Walz takes on Weird J.D. Vance. Doors open at 5:30, special live programming from 6 to 8, and the debate starts at 8. Tickets available at am950radio.com. Get yours now.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut any cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, which means distant thunder. Hey, Cudahy Wee to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events. And as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Dega. And this portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
A great sponsor and great work that they do all over Turtle Island. Just amazes me. Hey, we're here with Dr. Stately, and Dr. Stately is a Native American Community Clinic president and CEO. And we're here just having our normal conversations. I want to say, recognize Orange Shirt Day. Dr. Stately, welcome to Native Roots Radio.
Good afternoon. Good evening. How are you all?
Doing good.
I forgot to wear my orange shirt today.
Okay. Well, make a note.
You're not wearing one either, though.
Oh, well, thanks for calling.
Not like I'm tattling on you. It's not, well, it's obvious you're right there.
Hey, I heard something today. If people were saying if you didn't have an orange shirt, that you yourself were the orange shirt.
Yeah. So like, yeah.
Yeah,
It's built into the skin.
that's
Mm-hmm.
right.
It'd be
That's
hard
right.
to see. Can you see it?
Yeah.
You're kind
A
of
little
orange. Yeah, you're a little orange there. You got the
Me
farmer's
and
orange. You must be doing a lot
yeah.
of growing out in the backyard there at your fellatio unit out there in
My palace. My
your
palace in
palace.
Garland. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. hmm Sure.
yeah. Hey, with your assets, I'd retire.
I'm not sure
You
how to
speak.
respond to that. I was like, yeah, yeah.
Hey, so I want to ask you about harm reduction.
Oh yeah, my shirt, my arm reduction shirt. Um, yeah, today we had a big huge event outside in our clinic today, and today is our one of the days our street outreach team is open. We open up our back door, we provide food, and today was a big event because we were doing a bunch of things with them. So people come to the back of our building. We open up our garage door. We provide all kinds of harm reduction services and kits like clean needles and a bunch of other things. But today was a special day because we have I forget who it is. Oh, they're gonna kill me. Um, they have a clever name, but anyway, they bring shoes. So twice a month they come, they bring shoes, and houseless people need a lot of shoes. Homeless people, they're walking the streets, So unlike, you know, unlike me who doesn't walk anywhere, and it shows. Sorry.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
walk your dog. You walk your
I've had the
dog.
same I've had the same pair of tennis shoes for 5 years.
Oh my God,
The
that's
Those are your
luxurious
indoor
lifestyle and
shoes?
pride. No, I just like my whole family makes fun of me because I don't ever really buy any new shoes.
I, I don't know what to say to that. I thought you were walk the dog all the time. Have you been
I
lying to all my
do, but
listeners?
I do, but like I have to walk them thousands of miles to run out to wear out my shoes. I suppose I don't know.
Wow.
It probably speaks more to the fact that I am just like I'm a miser. I don't like to spend a lot of money on stuff. I grew up poor, so like I'm gonna get like the last, square little tiny milliliter of track out of some rubber out of that shoe before I throw it away.
Wow.
So my
That,
nephews buy me shoes for my birthday sometimes because I won't buy them for myself.
wow. I'm that way with paper towels. I have paper towels in my pockets all the time. And I don't know what that's all about, but we were
That's an
supposed to
odd thing,
we were
actually.
supposed to
Yeah.
use paper towels, and so I always have to but they're handy, if something happens, I got them in my pocket ready to go.
That's true. You never know. You're the quicker picker upper.
Well, Dr. Staley, you have a birthday coming up this week.
I do. Yeah.
Are you
True.
catching up to me?
Hot on your heels. I have been for the same number of years, but
So you'll be 53?
I'll be 62 on Thursday.
Oh, okay. So you're still a young warrior there, 61.
Somewhat, yeah.
Baby
Yeah.
elder.
Yeah, but it's so odd because I was born in 1962, so it's my so I'm turning 60. How does that whole thing work? Is it my golden birthday? My golden
No.
retirement birthday? My golden
No.
How does that work? Anyway. Yeah.
That's a good question. That is a good question. Wow. So
Anyway.
hopefully I'll be invited to this birthday party. Haven't in the last few years.
I don't have birthday parties.
Oh.
We gotta throw you one then.
Yeah. This
Over
is
at Haley's house.
So yeah. This is why I don't tell people that it's gonna be my birthday because I don't like to have this conversation. But I think it's like leftover stuff. I'm a middle child, and I'm a child. I'm one of 7, and I'm kind of later down the line here.
Mm-hmm.
So things that I think are probably a lot of other Native kids, especially from like, my family was I'm fourth generation boarding school survivor.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and my father both went to boarding school. Their parents went to boarding school, and my mother's grandparents went to boarding school. So my great grandparents. In fact, my grandparents, my grandparent Paul LaRock went to Carlisle in the early 1900s. He played football with Jim Thorpe.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But I think the residual effect of like being, a boarding school kid and also being like a member of a family who had relocated from White Earth during the Relocation Act period of time, growing up kind of like poor, like I just don't, I'm like there's hardly any pictures of me when I was a kid, right? Lots of pictures of the first 2 or 3 kids, and then I'm just like, oh look, there's Tony when he was 5. No pictures or evidence of me being
Right.
I was like, oh, did I drop from the sky?
Well, I always claimed that's why I was an alcoholic, because my parents really didn't take pictures of me, or they kept me low profile, and I was a cute kid too. So that was on my list of things.
Wow, we have no evidence of that, but we're just gonna take your word for that. But but you can't blame your parents for making you an alcoholic. That's crazy.
that was a long time ago. That was 40 years when I was grasping at straws.
I was just like, anyway, it's interesting that today is a National Boarding School Survivor Day, and I haven't really, I happened to see somebody at the clinic wearing an orange shirt, and I was like, oh, I forgot my orange shirt. And I actually don't even own an orange shirt. I just happen to think orange looks horrible on me, but I will make an orange shirt. I'll make an orange ribbon shirt this year, so I have one next year. But I often don't think of myself in that way. I don't think it doesn't hold as much presence in my day anymore, in my mind as it used to. So I guess maybe I'm healing. I don't know, I suppose.
Yeah, probably so. I guess too, a lot of the orange shirt is in remembrance of all those young ones that didn't make it back, and
there's plenty who hadn't.
Yeah. Hey, we're here with Dr. Stately, Native American Community Clinic President, CEO. We'll be right back after this short break.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl. J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
This is Leonard Peltier.
I'm in Coleman 1, U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Love that tagline. Hey, welcome back. Here we're with Dr. Stately, and we have our friend Barry Hand coming up next, and he's talking to us in our chat. He thinks we're funny.
Yeah, I guess we're a couple of little jokesters. But I should apologize for being so glib about boarding school survivor day. I think one of the things I would say is it's really important that we also acknowledge that many boarding school survivors and their children, their grandchildren, their great grandchildren have the residual grief and a lot of harm that they still live with. And that is kind of like the nature of historical trauma and intergenerational grief, that people sometimes suffer from those things greatly, even if they themselves have never gone to boarding school, right? So, and it's important to acknowledge that and help us. It's also important to recognize that experience has been probably, along with like forced removal of children, in the 60s and 70s, which is kind of the things that happened to my family, are things that have really reshaped Native American families and our community. Has been probably one of the most damaging things that have happened to us over the generations. So we're still working our way out of those things in many of our communities. I think it's a very unique contribution that it has to our mental health and substance use problems within our communities. So opportunities to just kind of like acknowledge that, and I should be a little bit more careful with it, how I joke about those things. But I've worked hard. I think one of the things I mentioned this, I think I can't remember if I mentioned it in this context, but I mentioned like one of the things I'm the most proud of is that for myself and the work I've done on my own healing and well-being is like, the experiences that I had with me being in boarding school, the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, all the kinds of things that have really, were really traumatic for me in my early life. Those things stopped with me and my generation for my children. My children have never seen me drunk or high. They've never, they'll never experience those things. Right. So I worked really, really hard to work through those things and heal from them. So prayers up for all the people who are still struggling with those conditions, and hopefully, you'll get some support and some strength from your ancestors and your as well as the community hold you up and support you while you work on that. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's a National Day of Remembrance for the U.S. Indian boarding schools, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why it's a yellow shirt. But I just want to say, I saw this thing that popped up on my social media, and it said the last residential school closed in 1996. The TV sitcom Friends premiered in 1994. Don't let them tell you it's ancient history. And I think you were talking about that right there, with your family and people we know.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes I give talks and trainings and lectures and discussions sometimes about historical trauma and its impact or generational grief, and the impact that those experiences like boarding school and a number of other failed policies that the United States have had in their attempts to address the Indian problem, right? They have it's important to, when we talk about intergenerational grief or historical trauma, that we understand that sometimes that's a misnomer. Like people think like, oh, that happened so long ago. Like, why are we still complaining about it? If it happened so long ago, why can't we just forget about it and move on? Well, that's just not the way that trauma and grief work. I think the other part of it is like, I'm 62 years old. I went to boarding school when I was 5, and I got out when I was 11 and a half years old, or 12 years old. And then that wasn't that long ago, it was 47 years ago or so, right?
Right.
So I think part of it is like recognizing that, that isn't a long time, right? And in some places in the United States, there's still boarding schools that operate, even though they're not necessarily operated in the same way. But our children spend a lot of time away from their families, from their loved ones, their parents, their grandparents, their great grandparents, and that has an impact on children.
Yeah, absolutely. There was the story about how Orange Shirt Day came up was I've seen, and it was like Jack went to, or Phyllis went to a mission for 1 year of school in 73 and 74, and had just turned 6 years old and lived with the grandmother on Dog Creek Reserve. We never had much money, but somehow Granny managed to buy me an outfit to go to the mission school. I remember going to Robin's store and picking up a shiny orange shirt. It had string lace up in the front and was so bright and exciting, just like I felt to be going to school. When I got to the mission school, they stripped me and took away my clothes, including my orange shirt. I never wore it again. I didn't understand why they wouldn't give it back to me. It was mine. The color orange has always reminded me of that, and how my feelings didn't matter, and how no one cared, and how I felt I was worth nothing. All of us little children were crying and no one cared. So that's how Orange Shirt Day started.
Yeah, it's a sad story. But I mean, I remember those experiences, my first days showing up at boarding school, and doing all the things, cutting my hair, taking away my belongings, those kinds of things. It's a beautiful story, and a very sad and mournful story at the same time.
Yeah, and I mean,
I'm really regretful it wasn't a purple shirt, because I really love purple.
Well, that we can segue into the Vikings victory too, if you want.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty cool thing, huh? It's like, okay, but don't get too excited, because it is really just the beginning of the season, and we all know what happens by the end of the season. So
We do.
Well,
unfortunately,
I was in right next to Penn Station in Manhattan, and there's a Vikings bar, and they were going crazy.
Oh yeah. Well, and I was not happy that the Minnesota Wild lost their first game yesterday. So.
Oh, I know.
They've started already?
Yeah. The first game was yesterday against Winnipeg.
Was it a real game?
Well, yeah, preseason game.
Oh, they don't count.
No, I think it was
had
a
a few
real game.
preseason.
No, it was game 1, right? Yeah. First game.
The Lynx. Yeah, the Lynx were on yesterday too.
They lost
though.
Yeah.
But they're still in it. They can still keep going if they win the next game.
Yep. Yeah. Just gotta keep going.
I always wanted to have
being a Minnesota
sports
fan is like a special. It's like a special designation. They should actually create something for us nationally to
Well, I used to really care, and then the last Super Bowl the Vikings were in, they broke my heart in 1977 against the Raiders, and then since then I haven't really cared that much.
Was that the last time they were in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Oh, they came so close over the last couple of years with it. Last several.
Well, they were in it 4 times and lost it.
Oh, it's not whether you win the game. It's like, are you in the game?
Oh my God, Mr. Jockstrap here. Hey, really happy. Let's swing it over. The polls are looking good. We have to vote early. We have to vote early and then take our relatives to vote. And so that's what we talk about a lot here. But we got the debate tomorrow. Are you going to be watching that?
Of course, I'm excited. Are you going to go to are you watching it at home, or are you going to go to like a what do you call it, watch party?
Well,
how come you're not hosting a watch party?
AM 950 is, but I'm in New York
Really?
still, so I will be
Oh,
watching it in New
rude,
York. But
rude.
I'll
World
be in
traveler, this one.
DC for the swearing in.
Really?
Oh, you will.
I'm sure.
You can come home and I can swear at you for free here.
Yeah. Oh, I was waiting for that. Is this segment over yet? Ho!
I'm so excited that you're having my good friend, my brother, technically he's my nephew, Barry Hand. I'm probably old enough to be his
We should
dad or
pop him
grandpa.
on, but I think he's shaving because he didn't realize that we were going to be on the radio.
Is he shaving his face or his head? Which one?
I don't know. Barry, you're on. Can you tell us? I know you have to unmute your mic
Oh,
there, Barry.
I can unmute. I can come on.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. I got a face for radio. I don't have no hair. My hair is running away from my face, and now everybody's on video.
Welcome to 2024.
Yeah. Yeah. You had some zingers there earlier, Tony. I'll join you when it's time to go up pay Robert a visit.
Right. Like we'll be his roast. We'll double team him on his roast.
Oh my God. All right. Hey, we're about to take a break. This is Native Roots Radio. And hey, we're going to be with Barry Hand, who is supposed to be the co-host of the show 8 years ago. Right, Barry?
You know what? I'm your muse. That's what I'm here for. I'm your muse.
I think he is actually responsible for me being involved in this show.
Yeah, I think you're right. We'll keep you on half a segment here, Dr. Stately. We'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio.
All right.
Introducing a new day of the week. Someday. Now, everything you were going to do someday is on the calendar. Want to retire someday? You'll really want this. A My Social Security account at socialsecurity.gov. You can estimate your future benefits and manage current benefits online. Millions of people have a My Social Security account. Get yours today because someday is here at socialsecurity.gov.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
Join Twin Cities Quorum as they celebrate their 31st annual National Coming Out Day Luncheon. This inspirational, transformational event gives voice to the power of living openly, honestly, and with authenticity at work, in our families, in our faith communities, and across our lives. The National Coming Out Day Luncheon serves as a celebration of who we are individually and together. Join us as our community celebrates the strength, courage, and wisdom of LGBTQ+ and allied people who have braved their own unique journeys to now live openly, authentically, and with pride. Reserve your tickets today for Friday, October 11th. This year's National Coming Out Day Luncheon will be at the Minneapolis Convention Center. The Marketplace Expo opens at 10 a.m. and the luncheon begins at 11:45 a.m. Tickets are available to members for $70 or non-members for $90. Learn more and purchase your tickets in the events section at TwinCitiesQuorum.com. That's TwinCitiesQuorum.com.
This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Attention event planners and festival organizers. This is Frank Brown from Minuteman Press Uptown, your union print shop partner for your next event. We're here to check items off your list and make your event the talk of the town. From stunning banners and eye-catching signage to programs, tickets, and name badges. We print everything. Get promotional products at prices that let you load up on merch and fill those swag bags. Make your event unforgettable with Minuteman Uptown. Visit us at mpuptown.com.
At Better Futures Minnesota, we support Minnesota's environment by working towards zero waste and the transformation of the lives of men in our workforce development model. Better Futures Minnesota engages men with histories of incarceration and homelessness. Our approach reaffirms each man's dignity, instilling self-discipline and behaviors that empower them to achieve self-sufficiency and a better future. We set hard-to-employ men on a pathway to independence through employment in our reuse retail warehouse and work crews specializing in building deconstruction, property maintenance, appliance recycling, and janitorial services. We strive to create a sustainable future where social equity, economic opportunity, and environmental justice intersect. By addressing these interconnected challenges, Better Futures Minnesota works towards building resilient, healthy communities for all Minnesotans. We believe that true sustainability can only be achieved when all members of our community can thrive. Join us in making a difference. Visit us at betterfuturesminnesota.com and donate today.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Clear tonight and breezy with a low of 56, then Tuesday sunshine with a high of 66. Vinaigrette can add the perfect complement to your next home-cooked meal. Taste test their wide selection of oils and vinegars, and they'll bottle it for you right on the spot. Vinaigrette is located at 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis. Check them out at vinaigrettemn.com.
Annie, I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACD, in Minneapolis.
Hey, we're with our friend, old friend, Barry Hand, who is a program director at Owámniyomni, Okhódayapi, and I want to see, how did I do there, Barry?
You did really good. There's only one wrong way to talk Indian, and that's to not try. So always remember to try. Don't worry about how it's pronounced. Just do your best.
Right on. Hey, we still have Dr. Stately here, and before we get talking about what you're doing, and I guess because Dr. Stately's on every Monday is your fault.
Well, I tell you what, he has a special place in my heart, my family's heart, and you talk about boarding school stuff, and him not wearing an orange shirt. Well, he was there, and I went to boarding school, but my experience was a lot different by the time I was school age. For me, it was a sanctuary place because I got involved in a lot of gang violence at a young age. And so boarding school actually for me was a good experience. Also, I had aunts and uncles there that worked there. But, I went to Pine Ridge High School, Gala Community School, and you boarded during the week and you went home on the weekends. So a little bit different scenario, but my dad had a pretty ugly experience that he really didn't talk about it much. So,
I look at just sacred behind me.
I know, and I think they call that dead air, Robert.
Yeah. Oh, that was only a couple seconds. It when you listen to the show again, it'll seem a lot shorter than that.
Oh, okay. It's like okay.
So Barry, you were gonna be host of. A matter of fact, you named this Native Roots Radio, by the way, the show. You were gonna be the co-host because I was just a dum-dum, and we would have had a great show.
I tell you what, when I was a grandma's boy, and I'm really grateful for that. And I was always when I went to boarding school, the dynamic out there was a little different than other places. And a lot of the folks in town kind of looked like me, and a lot of folks from the district looked like my dad and everybody else. And my grandma always told me, she says, always take up for the Indians and the district kids, stand up for them. They're your cousins too. And times have changed. This was a while back. And she's always said to help. And so, when you came into my life and you have your story, kind of my role in life is to be a helper, and that's my job, is to help and stand up my relatives. And can I do a quick shout out?
Absolutely.
I want to say hello to my auntie Nola Smith, my cousin Wayne Hand, and Tasha Hand. They're all Ho-Chunk Nation members, so I just want to say hello if maybe they're listening.
I know that was I've told Haley, my producer, who's my weehaw, that how important you were in my journey when I first found my birth mother. And that's been 11 years ago.
It's a struggle, and it's no matter how you slice the pie, it's almost like birth, right? It's kind of a painful process. It's kind of a painful thing, and we're at a time right now. I mean, we've always been at a time where we kind of how do we look at ourselves? How do I identify ourselves? And now that I'm joining the the geriatric club. I really have a lot of faith in these young people, your niece and others. They're gonna inherit what we leave them, and hopefully, right now these kids, and when I mean kids, I'm talking the 20-somethings and down. They can turn on TV and they can see themselves on TV portrayed in a beautiful way, where we never had that. We never had it. We had Powell Highway. I think we played the heck out of that. VHS
Smoke signals.
Yeah, well,
Powell Highway.
Yeah,
I grew up with Gunsmoke.
Well, I didn't want to go too much into the that
back in the day, they'd shoot one bullet from their rifle and 10 Indians would die.
Yeah. Well, I'm from the F Troop era.
Holy!
Oh wow,
Grandpa.
Yeah.
And you are a grandpa now. Congratulations.
Big Peeny Geeky. Wendy and I are so excited. It's a beautiful thing, and they're healthy.
Isn't it
and
awesome?
Yeah,
It's the
They're
best.
twins. That's amazing.
My son has made so many beautiful grandkids. I tell you, I could run for president right now, and I'd have a 1% vote because of my son. He's given me 4 beautiful grandkids, and I'm so grateful for that.
He's doing good.
Yeah,
he started out a little slow, but he's really picked up the pace.
He's doing okay. He's Ogallala, so you know how he is. He's
I think
mission creep. He'll sneak up on you.
Mission creep. That's funny. I want to acknowledge what Barry was saying, because I think you have a beautiful daughter, Madison, who's dating my nephew, Chaske. They're both they're both going to Fort Lewis.
We call that Owámniyomni.
Yeah, exactly. That's called making relatives and keeping the nation strong right there. But I think, what's beautiful is I get to spend time with those children every once in a while, those young ones. And, they're like going all around Indian country, just getting all the trophies for being the best Dakota speakers. Everywhere they go, they get first place or second place. And it's just remarkable. I mean, these are the kids that I remember holding those little babies in my hands when they were little tiny ones. And so I couldn't be more proud of them, and they're just doing amazing work. And, that speaks highly about the contributions you've made in their lives, Barry. I know you were very, very, a strong contributor about, especially for my nephews, showing them and demonstrating what it means to be a Dakota man. And,
well, I tell you, I was lucky.
Helping community. So.
I was lucky. Foster care did me justice, and had I not landed where I landed, I wouldn't be who I am. So I'm grateful every day for my going to foster and then being permanency, being adopted by my dad, and I could have been struggling with a lot of urban people. Well, who am I? What am I? Where do I stand? And where I landed in a home where they spoke Indian all the time. There's just a different type of understanding of the world. I think not better, just a different understanding.
Yeah, I gotta echo what Dr. Stately said too. Those young warriors that you've had so much good influence, seeing them now become dancers, going to college, but also around the drum.
Singers.
And I remember when they first started, they weren't that good, but they've been keeping it up, and they are really good. And I always joke to them, I go, I'll come and sing the AIM song with you. Oh, wow.
No, it was tough because, a lot of those youngsters I met through education. I got into teaching. My uncle, my dad's first cousin, Jerry Dearly, retired from teaching language, and he kind of volunteered me to do that. And I never wanted to do it because it forced a lot of the not good enoughs for me to deal with them. And of course, I didn't want to do that. And so, of course, with education, and then COVID came, and then of course you're familiar with my cancer diagnosis. I was sick all the time, so I had to kind of leave education because. You can imagine a regular teacher, you get sick all the time with the kids, but now with a compromised immune system, it's just hard. It's really hard. That's how I ended up landing with the Owámniyomni Okhódayapi, and so we're taking a lot of those life ways and programming to this not-for-profit that's, pretty recent. And I know, Robert, when we were at the school, when we reached out to Ho-Chunk Tippo office through Danielle DeLong, and they had a Chapotake built in the
courtyard.
And a Chapotake, for folks that don't know, it's a traditional Ho-Chunk dwelling. Those are the kind of the life ways, the skill sets that I think we need to bring to the table for our heritage kids. And I tend to talk about heritage kids versus non-heritage. And I do that in a way because I don't like to be exclusionary. We have a lot of non-Indians that are kind of married in, live amongst our people, are accepted as family and loved ones. And so they kind of a lot of times get grouped into the heritage. So if you have a blended family, you're not going to tell a family to leave 2 of their kids home. You're going to tell everybody to come. But one of the things we have to be really careful with our Lifeways is who our audience is and who we're teaching, because we don't want it to end up on Etsy or something like that, and somebody extracts one of these Lifeways and decides to sell it. And so it's really a ugly dynamic. I mean, I just seen recently, I rejoined the Facebook world, and boy, I got to wear boots because, man, it's rugged out there. It's out like the Wild West. But you know, there was sweetgrass being sold at what's that store in Woodbury?
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods.
I mean, it's just things like that. People, you know, they co-opt, and that's never good. And so, you know, we're starting to develop some programming in Owámniyomni. And one of the things that we are looking, and I know you and I've talked about, Robert, is reinvigorating dugout canoes. Yeah. This isn't a Barry idea. None of these are Barry ideas. These are ideas that are spurned through our knowledge keepers and our program committees. So we have folks from the 4 Dakota communities in the diaspora that are part of our programming committee, which kind of help us decide what type of program offerings we're going to have and who we're going to offer to, and what's the appropriate audience and who's our target audience. And so we want to do dugout canoes, and we know that your community, your nation did some really cool stuff down there on the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
Matt Pendleton, he's I don't know if I can say names out here, but he's with Lower Sioux. He's done phenomenal work down there for them for years, but he kind of lit that fire of bringing back the dugouts along with a few others. And so Matt is one of the folks guiding us on this journey. So hopefully in the short term, maybe next year or so, you're going to see Dakota dugout canoes along the Minneapolis skyline, downtown Minneapolis, where a lot of times you don't think Dakota very often. And so there's that fine line of re-engaging and not asserting isn't the right word, but just being present and being visible. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I think part of Ho-Chunk and Bill Quackenbush's journey in Wisconsin was that they found one in Lake Minnetonka, one of the lakes that are in Madison, that was around for a long time, and then they duplicated it.
Bill's nationally known. And so we kind of look at our relatives to the east, to the north, and our other tribal nations. And, you know, we share ideas all the time. And so kind of what some of the programming, a lot of the programming say, well, we didn't know Dakotas did that, but they kind of had that woodland cultural, the same as their Ho-Chunk, Anishinaabe, and Potawatomi relatives.
Hey, we're here with Barry Hand and Dr. Stately and Haley Cherry. We'll be right back after this short break.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune into Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
The Met Council is the governing planning agency for the Twin Cities metro region. One of our biggest responsibilities is to create a long-range plan every decade that imagines the best future for all of us. We need your help. We want to know your thoughts on the latest plan. We're calling it Imagine 2050. We'll use it as a guide to shape public policy and drive growth over the next 30 years. It'll help us improve the everyday essential services we provide, including transportation, housing, water resources, and parks and trails, with input from the 7 counties and 181 cities and townships in the region. But we're still missing the most important piece, and that's you. Visit engage.metrocouncil.org to learn more about Imagine 2050 and share your own thoughts and hopes for the Twin Cities region. Let's imagine a better, brighter future together. Engage.metrocouncil.org. That's engage.metrocouncil.org.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus over 30 extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
I think we have to do that again. I didn't see Dr. Stately howl.
Me neither. What was
I was
that?
on mute. I thought this was going to be like a hazing event, and then I was going to be the only one doing it, you know?
No, no.
Well, that's a good idea. We should try that sometime, I guess.
No.
Well, let's see. You know, we had a little
I
chat.
got a short little howl on there.
We had a little chat in the chat, and we were wondering if Barry's number was correct. And I said, yes, it's correct. He just doesn't text you back.
Oh, nice. You can't say that on the radio because I yell at my kids for not texting me. They're going to say, you do the same thing, Dad.
Well, the reason I ask is because I do actually have 3 different contacts for him in my phone.
One would say I've lived a life of debauchery, and no, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, hey, let me try this again. I am here with Haley Cherry, Dr. Stately, and Barry Hand. Welcome back to Native Roots Radio.
Good.
So have you guys ever been down to Owámniyomni?
Yes.
I have not had the chance to do it yet. I tried to go down there a couple weeks, like they have it all blocked off right now. But yeah.
How about you, Hallie? How long ago did you go down there?
It's been a while. I think probably about last year this time, actually.
So it's funny when I got out of teaching and I came onto the organization, I really didn't go. I'm an East Metro guy, right? St. Paul guy. And so I don't go to Minneapolis too often. And they had a really good interpretation of the site. If Dakota people never lived there, right? They didn't mention Dakota people one time. And that was really problematic when we came on because the place is so powerful. There's a sacred site that was there also. Witawanagi was an island that was a sacred island, which we have documentation that even, Ho-Chunk and Ojibwe people came and left offerings there, and along with Dakota. And so that island's gone. It was destroyed in the 50s to make room for the Lock-in Dam. And so what we did, one of the things that we did this year was we put up some interpretive signs where there's those little QR codes on there. Mm-hmm. And those QR codes, what you can do is you can scan it and then you get a Dakota interpretation of the site in Dakota. But of course, I'm an educator, and so it's a bilingual reader. So on the sign, you can follow along. And if you want to learn the phrases, you can, this is the English phrase and this is the Dakota phrase. So that's one of the things I'm really proud of. But here's the thing, and I say Dr. Stately to be respectful, but to my loved one there, Tony, it was Madison and Chaskay who did the recordings.
Oh,
and they did that as volunteers. They didn't want money. We offered to pay them. They says, no, we want to volunteer. We want to give back. And I think this younger generation is really going to teach us older folks a lot about selflessness. And I'm super excited for whenever, they're engaged and they take their place.
Hey, I heard her voice on the website. Is that there's a website out there that speaks into Lakota, Dakota, and English.
I think that's what it is. And then, of course, Chaske, he's the singer, and you can hear him in the background. And actually, you'll hear him, Robert Henry Jr., and then I don't know if I could say names on. They're all adults. Sean was on there, and Sean Smith, and then Ruben Keto.
Oh, wow. There's another of Dr. Stately's nephews.
So it's kind of like Dr. Stately is like Kevin Bacon, but the Indian version.
Yeah. 6 degrees.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
Bacon.
6 degrees of Dr.
More like-
Stately.
More like buffalo.
Oh, shit.
Well,
And another thing that we did is for Victory Day, and I know you guys are aware of that. For Victory Day, we had a Victory Day celebration, which was pretty cool. And we did a lot of our victory dances. We call me Wakichi. We sang those down there at the lock that were this land that we're leasing for 25 years. And then after 25 years, the 4 Dakota communities are going to kind of decide if they want the land after we restore it. Because a lot of time with land back, right, they end up giving the tribes a Superfund site. They return stolen land and say, clean it up.
Exactly.
And that's, most of the communities aren't in a position to do that. And so we had that Victory Day celebration, and we had all these little children. They were counting coup on the Army Corps sign. And it was such a special sight. And of course, again, these things are coming from our program committee, our knowledge keepers. And one of the things that we have, which is really unique, and I hope other nonprofits might follow suit, is we have a tribal working group. So we actually have an appointee from the 4 Dakota communities that so Prairie Island, Shakopee, Lower Sioux, Upper Sioux. Before we move forward anything, the tribal councils are engaged. And that's something that's so important. And I know our Ojibwe relatives in Minneapolis, our Ho-Chunk relatives in St. Paul, they're so connected with their tribal councils. And so this is one way for us to engage Dakota people, even folks who are from the diaspora who might call the Twin Cities home. And when I talk about the diaspora, of course, 90% of our Dakota relatives live outside the state of Minnesota. So,
Barry, can you tell everybody, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't know what Victory Day is. Could you give a quick synopsis of that?
So Victory Day is celebrated by most of your tribal nations in the area. We had Battle Little Bighorn that day we memorialized. For us, it was a Victory Day. It was a peaceful camp, and women and children and Custer and the United States Army attacked it, and they had a really bad day. They kind of say Custer got sued, right? But so at that camp we had every band of the Great Sioux Nation, Oceti, Shakopee, Dakota, Lakota were there. There were other tribal nations as well. The Shaila, the Cheyenne, the Arapaho. There were Cree people there. There were some Comanches. There was a Red Lake chief that was going to bring his warriors to stay at that camp. His name was Mustang, but the traditional chiefs, it was one vote they needed, and they said, no, stay home. And so it was kind of, even though it was the vast majority were 7 Council Fires people, there were other tribal nations that all stood in solidarity. And of course, Custer was wiped out. And so we celebrate that day. Most of the tribal governments take the day off, and I think that, and just so you know, when the US 1862 conflict popped off, it was the Ho-Chunk chief, Little Priest, that was actually the one that killed Andrew Myrick. The Little Priest stood side by side with those Dakota warriors, and that's a lot of history that people don't know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. One of the things, Barry, you come to mind too, since a lot of times when you introduce me, you introduce me as a Ho-Chunk to your friends and people that are just meeting me, and talk about kind of what Trump talked about with people eating dogs.
So it's, for us, it's we don't talk about too much stuff in the outside world, and we have the visible culture. We have the visible culture that we let outsiders see, And then we have that quiet culture from behind the scenes, and we don't tell them about it, and we can never tell them about it because, again, that wasn't until 1978 our people could do things openly. But we don't. The best thing is to be off their radar, because the one thing I know is they can make it hard for our people.
Right. And I guess I didn't mean dogs. I meant other people. We ate other people. You always introduce me.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I never said that. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about there.
Well,
here, man. You're trying to have me howl, and you're trying to get my auntie to call me up and give me a hand, man.
Hey, what a great show. Thanks, Barry. Got to have you on again.
I'd love to have you guys on. Please keep doing this. Please keep doing this. This is so important. Remember, this was our rebel radio we always talked about.
That's right. Hey, if you're still listening to the show, you're part of the resistance. From Chief Plentycoops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist. I best join a group, vote. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
And free Leonard Peltier. Now.
Hi, this is